For the latest poultry, meat, seafood and container shipping news, visit ESS-Feed.com. Poultry. The widespread outbreak of highly pathogenic avian influenza, HPAI, that disrupted U.S. poultry production earlier this year and sent egg and poultry prices soaring, has subsided in the warmer months. Canadian poultry prices have adjusted and fallen from year-on-year highs. The South African Poultry Association accuses Brazil of dumping poultry into South Africa. Chicken imports from Brazil into France are up 122% in 2022 so far. EU imports of Ukrainian chicken soars after quota and custom duties lifted for the next 12 months. Bird flu found again in Holland, US and Canada. Turkey prices continue to hit record highs in the US, now 24% up year-on-year. Pakistan Poultry Association issued a warning of a significant increase in prices of poultry products if the government did not provide immediate relief to the industry that had been crippled by floods. New research suggests that the poultry feed additives market size is estimated to reach $12.4 billion by 2027, growing at a CAGR of 5.8% during the forecast period 2022 to 2027. Australia has introduced new poultry welfare regulations. Ukraine's biggest poultry company wants to restore full output at its facilities by the end of this year after more than 6 months of war in the country. Major U.S. poultry processors colluded to squeeze wages and agree to a $84.8 million settlement in Maryland federal court. Beef and cattle. U.S. beef market exceeded $1 billion again in July. High beef prices on limited supply in Canada are pushing consumers to switch to pork and poultry as cheaper alternatives. Brazil beef exports to Ireland has increased 14% this year, while China's beef imports are down and expected to drop 19% over the next year. Australia bans beef for human consumption from all countries with foot and mouth disease. Meat and Livestock Australia has also revised its meat production volumes further down for 2022 by 10% due to lower than expected kills. However, a strong rebound is expected for 2023. Germany possibly shipped E. coli contaminated ground beef to U.S. customers. Cattle imports in U.S. are down 6.3% and exports down 36.7% year-on-year. Mexico cattle imports are down 30.2% and exports up 73.3% year-on-year. Canada's cattle imports are up 46.7%, ad imports up 13.8%. USDA has forecasted beef production in the USA to drop by 7% next year, 2023. Mexico beef production to increase by 8.2% and Latin America will increase by 0.4%. Fitch expects the U.S. beef segment to normalize in terms of profitability and the U.S. poultry segment to perform strongly due to solid overall demand for protein, high beef and poultry prices, the reopening of the food service segment, and less disruption compared with previous years. Fitch Ratings also expects the Latin American protein sector to remain resilient as most companies in the region have conservative capital structures and good liquidity. Demand for beef and chicken is supported by global export demand, which should benefit Latin America's protein sector. However, pork exports are expected to slow as China restores domestic production. Australian beef exports to South Korea in August 2022 hit the highest monthly volume recorded since November 2016. Part of this is due to the relaxation of import tariffs. Indonesian cattle imports from Australia are down again in August and 46% below the average past 5 years. Exports to Vietnam were also slightly higher, with China leading with 30% increase above the 5-year average. U.S. beef exports to UK quota has been reached. The UK's pork exports to the US totaled over £17 million in the first half of this year, a whopping 74% increase from the same period last year. Latest figures show that around 5,000 tons of pork were shipped between January and June, proving that the US is the UK's growing red meat export market. America also imports 805 tons of beef from the UK, worth £5.2 million. However, for the rest of 2022, as beef import quotas are met, shipments will slow and UK exporters will face tariffs of 26.4%. China to cut beef purchases on global markets by 19% next year. China's economy continues to struggle with stringent COVID-19 precautions. This is likely to hit meat processors in Brazil, China's largest supplier of beef. The European Parliament has voted in favor of new rules that will force companies to import products linked to deforestation. Several products such as beef, soybeans, wood, palm oil, coffee and cocoa are covered by the law. Pork. U.S. exports remain below last year, but remain strong in Colombia and the Caribbean. Canadian pork prices have come down again from the second quarter. At the end of August, Paraguay had the lowest pork prices in South America. South Korea removes restrictions on EU pork and poultry as it tries to balance food supply and safety. The agreement by the South Korean Ministry of Agriculture could result in an additional €1 billion in trade in the next few years. U.S. slaughter drops during summer peak and is 3.3% lower year-on-year. UK released its June sow inventory last week due to slaughter down 18% year-on-year and prices up 3%. German pork production continues to fall due rising input costs. China plans to sell 15,000 tons of frozen pork from state stockpiles. Last week, China sold 37,000 tons of state-owned pork stock. China expects its pork production to increase and meet consumer demand. It's expected that pork imports will fall 8% from this year to 1.85 MMT. Brazil pork slaughter hits the highest levels in 25 years, 3% higher year-on-year. The number of pigs kept by British farmers has fallen sharply to a 20-year low, forcing retailers to buy from EU countries to make up the shortfall. The industry has warned that farmers are having fewer pigs due to rising feed prices. And finally, global food prices begin to drop. The 5 major food commodities, cereals, vegetable oils, dairy products, meat and sugar, have lower prices in August than in July, according to the latest food price index. Key findings. The FAO Food Price Index averaged 138.0 points in August 2022, down 2.7 points, 1.9%, from July, registering its 5th consecutive monthly decline. The FAO Cereal Price Index averaged 145.2 points in August, down 2.0 points, 1.4%, from July. The FAO Vegetable Oil Price Index averaged 163.3 points in August, down 5.5 points, 3.3%, month-on-month. The FAO Dairy Price Index averaged 143.5 points in August, down 3.0 points, 2.0%, from July. The FAO Meat Price Index averaged 122.7 points in August, down 1.8 points, 1.5%, from July. The FAO Sugar Price Index averaged 110.4 points in August, down 2.4 points, 2.1%, from July. For the latest poultry, meat, seafood and container shipping news, visit ESS-Feed.com.